Hi, we're going to do 11.1 corrective assignment number 7. So I sketched the graph, which it asks you to do in the middle of your paper. And I labeled some of the points here. The first thing we want to realize with this one is that it is way easier to do it with respect to y than it is with respect to x. And like I've told you, as time goes on here, I'm not going to expect you to do these both ways with respect to x and with respect to y, because you're going to start to recognize what to choose, right? Whether doing it with respect to x is easier or doing it with respect to y is easier, because obviously you want to pick whichever one is going to be easier. So if you didn't realize that and you started doing it with respect to x, and the worksheet does ask you to do it both ways, so you should have at least tried to start doing it with respect to x. First, we want to realize that this equation is written with respect to x, but this one is not, right? So you'd want to rewrite that. So you'd have to add the 1 and square root. So then there's the positive square root and the negative square root. So when you start breaking it up with respect to x, you're going to want to do this chunk right here first, from -1 to -0.778. But you're going to have to do it with that positive radical and with that negative radical. That will get you down here, right, in order to get that whole area there. Or, since we know it's symmetric right there, you could do it with the positive square root and then double it for both sides. But that's a little bit confusing and messy on this one. And then obviously if we were doing it with respect to x, you'd then also have to add the integration from -0.778 right here to 1.135 to get all of this area in there. So you're going to need 2 or 3 sets of integration there, which, depending on how you do it, which is a lot of work and confusing. So I don't think I'm going to do it that way because I don't want to confuse anybody. What you do need to recognize is that you want to find the area, the shaded region here, with respect to y. So if we do this with respect to y, when we integrate, we're going to want our lowest y value to our biggest y value. So we're going to integrate from -0.471 to +1.461. Now in class, a lot of times I turn my paper to try and visualize what equation is on top there, so what needs to go first for our subtraction, so we can see there that it's that y equals x cubed equation on top. So that's what's going to go first. So we'll turn our papers back here, but we need to rewrite that, right, so that it's in terms of y and not x. So if we cube root both sides, we know that's the cube root of y. So we're going to write the cube root of y here minus our other equation, our bottom equation when I turned my paper, right? Minus y squared minus 1. That one's already in terms of y, so we don't have to switch anything there. So that's what we would be integrating with respect to y. And it tells you on your paper, you can just plug that into your calculator and get the answer. And when you do that, the answer is 1.8, and the decimal goes on, but mine got a little cut off there, 1.826 or something like that. Okay, so I hope that helps to make sense of number 7.